So only Sudha sister was awake when I said that's all. All the three of you are lost. Lost
No,
in where? Sorry?
we didn't hear that all.
You didn't hear because you had withdrawn all the senses. What is that condition where you have withdrawn all the senses?
And I get that message. Your recording started, so that will come first.
What is that state where you have withdrawn all the senses from outside? This is a
Pratyahara.
pratyahara. So in other words, you are taking ahara from inside. So you are not worried about the ahara from outside. Since you are taking food from inside, you are not worried about the food from outside. Okay. So yesterday there was a test of our group. Last evening, I asked about one question from Heartfulness Way that we have read and we have underlined also. So the person remembers that they have underlined, but they don't know where it is in the book that they have underlined. So Gopal Krishna, tell me your experience of yesterday. When I asked the question, he said, then we have to look through the whole book to find that answer. Then I had to give him a topic where the answer is. I have to tell him it's on the left page, not on the right page. I told him so many clues. Then they were able to find out. See, many times it is a learning exercise. Many times we take it for granted. Oh, I have understood and I know where it is. So when it comes in the exam, I'll write it. But we tend to forget it. It's very natural. Yesterday after the satsang, somebody read the messages. Some article by Darji. Everybody listened. After that, I asked, what is it that you actually picked up from what they read? They read in English and Kannada. Then sister said, at the time when we heard it, we thought we understood it, but now we have no clue what they talk about. And you know what the message was about? Message was about not forming samskaras. Then I told the sister, then you have wonderfully not formed any samskara of any learning. That's exactly what happened yesterday evening after the satsang. So, and telling it to youngsters mostly. Generally, youngsters are overconfident. They are over in everything. Overconfident, overheating, over talking, over energy, huh? Binging on movies, binging on serials, everything. So they have a lot of capability, but sometimes the overconfidence undermines the capability, the resilience. Okay. So the fourth point, we should not go over also. In other words, if you get stuck at the fourth point, you will become too overconfident. So the inhibition, little bit of inhibition of the fear should be there to make sure that we don't go into overconfidence. Got the point? So that's important. So when the love becomes too excessive, what will be the nature of manifestation of the love? When the love becomes in excess, how will it manifest? Go ahead.
Possessive.
Possessiveness. When the love is in a moderate degree, it actually allows the other person to have more freedom. When the love becomes more intense and more solid, then it actually restricts the freedom of the other person who is loved. So then they start being possessive of that person. They do not allow the person to do whatever the other person likes. So everything should be according to their whims and fancies. That's what happens.
Sir,
Okay.
one question. See, in Tamil, there are two words. One is anbu, and other one is called pasam.
What is anbu? I have heard. What is the other one?
Pasam.
Pasam, Pasham.
Yeah.
Hmm. The same in Kannada we call it as Pasha.
So what is the difference if put it in English? They mostly, they say both are love, like Anbu and Pasam.
No. Pasham is intense love. Intense love to the extent that you are actually restricting the freedom of the other person. So in a way, you can say that the love has become more grosser and more solid. So ಪ್ರೇಮದ ಪಾಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆರೆಯಾದರು. That means they got entangled in that knot of love. And the knot is not very loose; it's very tight. That is called as pasha. Same word in Kannada also, pasha. Premada pasha. So the knot of love. There they don't even. You can say that premada pasha andre. It's like you got entangled in that love. Well, when you get entangled so much, there is no freedom for you. Lot of families struggle. No, affection is very mild love. Affection is a very mild form of love. There's no kind of restriction. There's nothing. It's just there's a certain degree of liking towards the other person. That's it. So affection is very, very flexible. There's a lot of freedom. But in love, in the earlier stages, when it is still kind of fluid, free flowing, there's a lot of freedom. And that free flowing nature is such that both of them want to do the activities. Both are flexible in doing whatever activity the other person wants. So you are actually accommodative of the other person. So that's the what do you say, a genuine state of love where you actually accommodate the other person. But as and when the love becomes more intense and more focused on one particular person, what happens is over a period of time, it becomes like a entanglement. You are entangled, but you are entangled in love now. So, and that's very, very difficult to live. When you get entangled in love, it's almost like quantum entanglement. Now, you don't ask me the question, does quantum also love? That's a question that we have to ask, no? If there is entanglement in both, and is this based on love, that is based on quantum physics, then does quantum particles also love one another? No, I don't think scientists have studied love so much in quantums. Scientists do not have study to study their own love only. Forget about quantum. But anyway, it is a very important question. What is the fundamental basis for the quantum entanglement? Is it universal love? That's one perspective of looking at. There is universal love in the background everywhere. If there is universal consciousness, yeah, to support that, there is a universal love. Like we remember, we read one infinity is backed by other infinity. So in the universal consciousness, what is there? It is nothing but the universal law of God. Now, does that create many of these quantum phenomena? So not many people actually looked at this particular perspective because whenever people have talked about love, they have talked about it from the level of the mind and the heart, not necessarily from the spiritual perspective. So you remember that love of Radha and Krishna. Radha loved Krishna so much that Krishna started resonating with the name of Radha. So initially it was Radha who was doing the japa of Krishna, on the name of Krishna. Then they become so entangled in love that Krishna starts doing the japa of Radha. Now, in there is no physical contact at all in the sense that they are both at different places. Each one is carrying on in their love, in their work, but still you can feel that subtle current of love flowing between one another. Now, that did not restrict their freedom. You actually, because of the love that you have got, you actually surrender to the other person. That is what happens. When you surrender to the other person, you don't actually feel that your freedom has been restricted. By surrendering to the other person, you actually get everything that the other person has in you. So you start drawing everything that the other person has from the object of love. So if we surrender to the center, whatever is there in the center, we start drawing it automatically. We start absorbing it. We start becoming one with that. That is the union that we talk about in the end. We actually absorb, imbibe all the qualities of the center into ourselves and exist here. That is the union. It's not like we are going to become one with the center. Not like that. We are going to absorb the essence of the center and be like the center only, almost akin to center. But not like there is a mergence of two things coming to become one. Because this is one of the examples that is given. That is like the milk merging with milk. That's one of the things that is given as an example of the ultimate state. But what Babuji writes is that you actually absorb the essence of the other person, of the center in such a way that there is no difference between the two as far as quality is concerned. But the nominal difference of having the physical body is still there in the other person who has now reached the center. Okay. Now see how it got built up from the affection to love to entanglement to universal love and then now to absorbing the qualities of the center. Ultimately, what we have to do to observe the quality, I said if the attention is fixed on a particular object, by meditation, we absorb the essence of that particular object. You remember that we had spoken about it? When we were talking about difference between concentration and attention and meditation, we said if you concentrate on a particular object, you get to know the characters of that particular object, but you cannot absorb the essence of that particular object. When you actually meditate on a particular object, you actually absorb the essence of that particular object. Now, what do we do in meditation? We actually allow our attention to rest on that particular object and gradually move towards awareness. That is what we do in meditation. In concentration, we actually pay attention to the particular object in a sustained way, add energy to it, and we suppress other objects. So, in meditation, we don't suppress anything. We just allow anything to come, no problem. So that possibility of allowing everything to come at once into awareness, that opens up the possibility of absorbing the essence. Because every object that is created has an essence behind it. So when we meditate on the object, since we become subtle, we go to the subtler state of that particular object and we absorb the essence. When we concentrate, we don't become subtle. We're still at a grosser state, much beyond attention. So if you take awareness, attention, concentration, attention is grosser than awareness. Concentration is grosser than attention. So when we go towards the grosser direction, we get to know certain things. When we go towards the subtler direction, we actually get to know a different kind of a thing about the same object. Object is the same and what you're doing is the same. It's just that how you actually relate to it. Are you relating to it in a grosser direction or are you relating to the object in a subtler direction? That is what makes the difference. So when you relate to a particular thing in the subtler direction, then we get to absorb the essence. There is an exchange of essence, so to say. Okay, that is what Daji writes, osmosis. In Designing Destiny is written about the osmosis. So osmosis between the lover and the beloved. Now osmosis doesn't mean to say it only moves in one direction. It moves in both directions. What is more in one goes to the other one. What is more in the other comes to this person, first one. So there's a mutual osmosis. Okay. In osmosis experiment, when we read in biology, it's almost like there is a gradient and you move from one particular level to the other level, because there is a gradient established. For example, we have a sodium ion gradient. So the sodium is uh, under certain circumstances more inside the cell and more outside, less outside. Then there is a gradient established. So when the sodium channels open up, then otherwise what happens is the sodium ion which is there outside more and less in the cell, there is a gradient established and then it moves in. So there's a particular, what do you say, for all ion movement, the gradient need to be established in the cell wall. Only then the ion can move from outside to inside or inside to outside. That is the fundamental basis. So osmosis is a very, very important component of our existence. Without osmosis, we cannot exist. But what is the object that you are actually getting into osmosis with? That actually determines what happens. If you get into osmosis with a person who is established in the center, we also start imbibing all the qualities by osmosis. It just flows to us. So to the extent that person has actually progressed, our osmosis with that particular person will actually make us progress to that level more easily than by our own self effort. So you can reach God either directly or you can actually go through a guru. The path through a guru is far more easier because guru understand all our deficiencies, all our challenges, all our difficulties. So they are more considerate. Reaching God directly is far more difficult, a lot more challenging. Okay, so two paths are available to every human being: a direct path to God and a path through the guru. And it's always been emphasized for ages in our culture that the path through the guru is far more easier. That's why we have a lot of mantras about the guru. Guru Bhyo Namaha, then Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. That's all again praising the guru because not only the guru can lead you to God, he can also lead you very easily with less difficulties. Because there are many times when we are finding it difficult, he takes over the work and he does it for us. And don't expect that the people in the examination hall is going to do that for you. Bharat will be thinking, such nice gurus. Why not have them? It's better to have them in the examination hall also.
Sir, I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Like there are, you said not two ways. One is through guru and one is direct. So at one point of time, how the guru will also be reached directly only, na?
Sorry. At one point of time, the guru,
Guru also should be reached directly only, na? Guru or
no,
his
guru would
guru.
have reached through their guru.
But
That's
some at
how
basic should be there, na? If suppose 10 gurus are there, he that 10th person should be reached directly, na? He's a,
that exceptions will always be there.
like, how did he reach there?
That is because when they were born, they were very close to the center. That's all. Remember, we have been descending chakra by chakra in different avatars of us. So Babaji uses the word avatar, and people like the word avatar. Oh, I'm also an avatar. See, when the souls are born initially, they are very close to the center. So since they are very close to the center, they also already have got quite a few bit of characters of the center, and they also are aware of that. They are very much akin to the center. So those souls which can actually remember the center in the first life itself, they actually realize God straight away in one life only. Those souls will start coming down further and further. It is very difficult to actually go back. They require the help of the guru, somebody who can actually clear the path for them. Why? The further we move down away from the center, our willpower weakens. The more closer to the center we are at the time of our existence, Our willpower is as strong as the center. So if we will in the direction of the center, we'll realize the center immediately, pretty fast. So what has happened to all the people who are now born here, most of them, is that they've all moved down from that realm, when from near the center, gradually we moved down 13 chakras. We are now in the lowest chakra possible for a human being. Now, if somebody were to take an animal life, it is quite possible that they will move down further chakras, the lower three chakras. The animals are led by life in the lower three chakras only. They don't even have access to the first point. Forget about it. So they lead life in the lower three chakras. So it's a gradual descent. So to just give you an example of the people who got liberated in the first life itself, I told you about Brahma Manasa Putra. You remember? Brahma Manasa Putra means Brahma, you know, God, who is the creator. Manasa means one who is born of his mind. So these people were born from the mind of the Brahma. So Brahma Manasa Putra, they are called as. So they got liberated in the first life itself. So Sanaka, Sananda, you remember that? Four names. It starts with Sa.
Yeah, Narada interface and
Correct. So they are born, and then Narada actually tells them that this is what you need to do in this life. So these people start doing it, and then they get liberated in one life only, first life. And then Narada starts doing it for every creature that is brought about by Prajapati. Then Prajapati gets angry at Narada, and he curses Narada. Prajapati says, Brahma has given me the task of creating creatures. And then I'm going on creating that. You are coming and telling them about all these things, and they are all getting liberated. How will my cycle continue? You are interfering with my work of creation. So Narada refuses to stop it. So then this Prajapati curses Narada. So some of the early beings who are reminded by Narada about their original state, being so close to God, they actually get liberated in one life only. Okay, and there is this thing that we do in second chance. No, we give second chance to people. You remember? And second chance is like the last chance. If you don't do it, then you are going to go down. Right? We do it in our normal day-to-day life also. Okay, I'll give you a second chance to do it correctly. Right? Now that is exactly what people do. You know what they do? Oh, first marriage we had difficulty. I'll take a second chance and see how it is going to go. And that's the reason why many of the politicians have taken a second chance. Okay, but the second chance is supposed to be the final chance. That's what we mean, right? Now we have missed the second chance also, and then the gradual descent begins. That's how it has come. So in the first or the second life, we are very close to the center, and we can easily realize the center pretty fast. But once you come down beyond that second life, it becomes like a gradual descent. Is that okay? Or you
No,
want more?
Lalaji also was in first life only. He did in 7 months. No?
No, it was not his first life. Lalaji himself writes about his previous life in 44 Whispers. So Lalaji had quite a few lives. Lalaji left the previous body in remembrance of God. Since he left his previous body in the previous life in the remembrance of God, that became the root or the reason for his birth in this life. He was so engrossed in the remembrance of God at the time of death in the previous life that it held him in a very, very tight niche. And that becomes the reason for him to actually go towards liberation, or towards perfection within a short period of time. Just a minute. Anyway, so some extra duties in the morning today. So, household duties. Okay. Well, we've already come to 7-2. No, we are actually celebrating because we hit the 100 mark yesterday. Shall we study at least 1 or 2 pages so that we can keep the flow going? Let us at least read 1 or 2 pages. However, as we develop even further, consciousness stops, jumping back and forth, turning inwards or outwards. It stops being unidirectional. Now underline that. Stops being unidirectional. Rather, it expands in both the directions at once. You are aware of what is happening around you externally, at the same time, you are also moving towards the source within. Furthermore, you are aware of what is happening in between the two. You have neither an inner or outer orientation. Your consciousness is now expansive. Your attention is inclusive. Please underline that. Yeah. So, initially, consciousness is unidirectional. In the journey in the Pinda Pradesh, the consciousness is unidirectional. But as we go towards the Brahmanda, the consciousness becomes expansive in nature. That's what we're going to now further read. Now, when this is the case, meditation no longer involves any movement. You are simultaneously immersed in the center, the source, and you are also aware of the external. That means you don't have to turn your consciousness inwards in order to meditate. In fact, meditation now becomes redundant. Please underline this. So there is an end to meditation. It's not like you just go on doing meditation. There is an end to meditation when we are in touch with the source. You are in a permanent state of meditation. You see, why would you need to sit and meditate when you are already in meditation? You may have noticed that in Eastern iconography, spiritual figures are often portrayed in a meditative pose. We see there, especially in depictions of Lord Buddha, he is always seated, always serene. In reality, though illumined individuals do not sit in continuous meditation. So, this is another thing that people think, that illumined individuals are always sitting in meditation, as if there is no other thing for them to do. Okay? They are active and engaged in life. Underline this. That's why Heartfulness Premier League is being conducted to keep you active and engaged in life. Otherwise, you people will sit for meditation again and again. So one could be busy in an emergency room doctor, for instance, busily attending to patient after patient. Despite her stressful situation, she is calm and peaceful. Her permanent contact with the source provides her with an inner silence that pervades the surrounding noise. Despite her stressful circumstance, she is in meditation, you see. She may not be seated like a Buddha figurine, but her consciousness is Buddha-like. She has attained permanency in meditation. This is called as meditative state. So you will get a question, what is meditative state? Achieving permanency in meditation is called as meditative state. It should not be necessary to continue this daily exercise of meditation for your entire life. Each case is different, of course, but I think that if we still require this daily ritual after 20-30 years, something must be wrong in our approach. Right? So, why are evolved individuals always portrayed in that meditative pose? I asked. It is just a symbol. Of course, it is a symbol, said Darji. Nevertheless, we also observe that even those who no longer require meditation still tend to maintain their meditative practice. Every morning they still sit for meditation. Now, why would they do this? Is it because they enjoy it? Is it a habit or is it a formality? Darji paused and said, you can think over it. Somehow the answer he doesn't give. Babaji was asked this question, are you still meditating? But Babaji answers, just out of practice, I do sit sometimes. That is his answer. But Gaji is not given a direct answer. He has asked you to ponder about it. Ganeshan, you want to
Then,
ask something?
yeah, then what is the difference between the master gives satsang, right? Then he is also meditating, right?
Ah. When the masters give satsang, it is happening automatically. They just make a sankalpa and that's it. That's all. They are not meditating on anything. They are just kind of. And it is during many times during the satsang they actually receive that divine instructions. Many times Daji has told you during the meditation, I got this message from Babaji that this is what needs to happen. That is what needs to be done. You remember when he came to Tamil Nadu, he said that Hosur, I think. So after the meditation. So generally, in meditation, they actually do meditation for a different purpose altogether. When they sit and give sitting, it's not like they are doing the sittings like a preceptor does. No, it happens automatically. You just make a sankalpa of the sitting and then things flows. That's it. Most of the master's work is just based on a sankalpa. So when we were evolved to that level, we also do work just based on a sankalpa. You make a sankalpa, things will happen. That's it. Then in that sankalpa, who's going to come and do what work? That can vary. Whoever is available will do the work. That's all, according to the sankalpa. Okay, that's how the work occurs. They don't need to even exercise their will because the will is always there active in master. And their will is now merged in the divine will. So they don't need to exercise their individual will at all. The individual will is now no longer there. It is only the divine will which is acting through the medium of the master. Okay. So everyone is very quiet today. I didn't see people smile too much. Huh? Bharat seems to be lost today somewhere. I don't know where is he lost. Huh? Bharat, what happened? Had good sleep, no? I had so much sleep. I was just wondering. I had so much depth of sleep last night. I don't know where it came from. So I was just wondering. I had gone to this satsang, no? They had given one kashaya. I drank that kashaya. I'm just wondering, is it because of that kashaya I had such a depth of sleep? So, but the environment today is very quiet and silent. You people are asking questions, sir, but there's a element of silence in the background that's easily feelable, palpable. And in that element of silence, people are smiling, people are moving, people are talking, but there is this background silence. Nice to feel that silence. Can you feel it? I don't know whether you people are feeling it. It's very silent today, so to say. Normally, there is an element of vibrations or activity, but today that activity levels are very mild, very muted. I don't know. It's because I have slept to a deeper depth of sleeping or not. But there is an element of silence. That's how you feel. Wherever you sit, whatever you do, you need to feel what is the nature giving you as an indication. When you wake up in the morning, open the door, feel the silence, feel the stillness in the air, feel the balance in nature. You need to get into that habit. And it's a wonderful state. Now, even if you don't sit in meditation on a particular day, if you can still feel it, you are absorbing the essence from nature with open eyes, not with closed eyes. Okay? So, since you people are so silent today,